All right, deep divers, buckle up because today we're going deep on something kind of funny.
Oh, this is going to be good.
We're talking about human inefficiency.
Inefficiency, huh?
Yep, we're diving into this excerpt called, get this, Humans Are Hilariously Inefficient.
Catchy title. I like it.
Right, and it really makes you think, what if all those quirks and flaws we have, those inefficiencies, what if they're actually what make us, well, us?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
So the excerpt jumps right in with these ridiculously relatable examples.
Hit me.
And it talks about how we manage to injure ourselves in the silliest ways, like a little misstep and bam, sprained ankle.
Oh, tell me about it. I tripped over my own cat last week.
Seriously. And don't even get me started on how easily we choke on food. You'd think we'd be better at, the whole eating thing by now.
It's like we haven't quite mastered the art of survival even after all these years.
Right. I mean, compare us to the rest of the animal kingdom. We're not exactly winning any efficiency awards.
We're definitely not the most streamlined species out there.
I mean, a third of our lives, gone, asleep, totally vulnerable.
It's a bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off.
It does make you wonder, though, about the whole evolution thing.
You're telling me you'd think natural selection would have weeded out some of these, shall we say, less than optimal traits.
But then there's the brain. Oh, the human brain. Capable of composing symphonies and also completely forgetting where we put our keys.
The ultimate double-edged sword.
The excerpt dives into this. Our memories, they're just notoriously unreliable.
But here's the twist. The excerpt argues that maybe, just maybe, this forgetfulness, it's actually a good thing.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Think about it. Because we don't dwell on every single mistake, we can move on quickly. We're adaptable, resilient.
So instead of getting hung up on the past, we can focus on the present, the future.
Exactly. We're not bogged down by all that mental baggage.
So maybe I should be thanking my terrible memory, for keeping me in a perpetual state of present moment awareness.
There you go. Embrace the chaos.
But hold on, there's got to be some downside to all this forgetting, right?
No, of course. There's a balance. The excerpt points out that humans, we're ingenious. We've come up with all these systems to compensate for our forgetfulness.
Calendars, to-do lists, reminders.
We're constantly trying to outsmart our own brains.
And it's exhausting. But here's a thought. What if this constant struggle, this need to impose order on our chaotic minds, what if that's actually the source of our creativity?
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
We're always making connections, seeing patterns, thinking outside the box.
Because our brains are wired for that non-linear, messy, creative thinking.
So instead of seeing our tendency to jump between ideas as a distraction, maybe it's a superpower.
Absolutely. It's all about perspective. What we perceive as flaws, they might actually be hidden strengths.
And this goes beyond just our mental quirks.
Oh, yeah. The excerpt also talks about our emotions. As messy and irrational as they can be, they're what make us human.
Our art, music, relationships, they're all fueled by this whole emotional roller coaster.
Without that messiness, life would be pretty dull, wouldn't it?
And don't forget sleep. We often see it as the ultimate time waster. But the excerpt makes a good point. Sleep, it's essential.
Absolutely. While we're seemingly doing nothing, our brains are busy at work, consolidating memories, clearing out toxins. It's like a nightly reset.
And yet we complain about needing those 8 hours. We should be thanking our bodies for demanding this downtime.
You should indeed. Now, ready for another layer of human inefficiency?
Hit me.
We overcomplicate our own survival, way more than we need to.
Oh yeah, we're masters of that.
The excerpt has some hilarious examples. While other animals are out there evolving physically, we're building systems, creating tools. It's like we're trying to outsmart nature instead of working with it.
And nowhere is this more obvious than with food. I mean, we didn't just stop at foraging. We had to go and invent agriculture.
Global trade networks for exotic ingredients.
All because our inefficient bodies couldn't just be satisfied with what was readily available. Genius and absurd at the same time, right?
Yeah, totally. And it goes beyond basic survival, too. Think about the internet.
Oh, man.
The internet, this vast network of information and entertainment, primarily because we get bored easily.
Constantly seeking stimulation, novelty, connection. We're wired for distraction.
But here's the thing. That insatiable curiosity, that need to explore and create, it's what drives human progress.
So our inefficiency, this drive to complicate things, it's the birthplace of imagination.
You got it. We push the boundaries not because we have to, but because we can.
It's like we have this urge to go beyond our physical limitations and explore all these possibilities. It makes you wonder, what if this drive, this need to imagine, is actually a fundamental principle of the universe itself?
That's a profound thought, and that's exactly where the excerpt takes us next.
Yeah.
It asks us to consider whether inefficiency might not just be a human thing, but a universal law.
So we're saying inefficiency might be, like, built into the fabric of the universe.
It's a wild thought, right? The excerpt uses the example of stars. They burn through massive amounts of energy for billions of years. Crazy. But only a tiny fraction of that energy actually reaches a planet like Earth to support life.
Talk about inefficient.
It's like the universe is going to all this trouble for, well, not much in return. But what if this apparent wastefulness is actually crucial for creating the kind of complexity we see in the universe? The excerpt suggests inefficiency is also a driving force in evolution itself.
How so?
Think about it. How many adaptations have come and gone over millions of years? So much trial and error.
Yeah, tons of evolutionary dead ends.
Exactly. But maybe those dead ends served a purpose, even if we don't fully understand it.
Like they were necessary stepping stones on the way to creating the diversity of life we see today.
Right. It's like the universe is saying, let's try everything. Some of it won't work, sure, but the stuff that does, that's where the magic happens.
And we humans were part of that grand experiment. All our quirks, our mistakes, they all contribute to the bigger picture. But how do we as individuals learn to embrace this idea of inefficiency?
The excerpt suggests we start by being kinder to ourselves. Yeah. We're so hard on ourselves, always striving for this unattainable perfection. What if, instead of beating ourselves up for every little mistake, we gave ourselves a break?
You mean cut ourselves some slack? Stop stressing over every to-do list and miss deadline.
Exactly. It's not about giving up on self-improvement. It's about finding a balance.
A balance between striving for excellence and accepting that we're not going to be perfect all the time.
You got it. It's about recognizing that growth isn't always a straight line.
There are going to be detours, setbacks, unexpected turns.
Exactly. And just like the universe seems to embrace a bit of chaos, maybe we should too.
Embrace those unexpected moments, those flashes of brilliance that come from thinking outside the box.
Exactly. The excerpt really emphasizes this sense of joy and humor in the whole process.
Like, hey, life is messy, we're all flawed, but let's not take ourselves too seriously.
Right. Let's laugh at our mistakes, learn from them, and keep moving forward.
I'm starting to see how this shift in perspective could be really freeing.
It's about reclaiming the joy in the journey, even when it's messy and unpredictable.
Who knows? Maybe by embracing our inefficiencies, allowing ourselves to stumble and experiment, we might discover something amazing.
That's the beauty of it. As we wrap up this segment, I want to leave you with a question.
Can you get me?
What if, instead of viewing our inefficiencies as obstacles, we saw them as portals to possibility?
Wow, that last part really got me thinking. It's kind of mind-blowing to consider that inefficiency, something we usually see as a negative, could actually be a positive.
It's a big shift in perspective for sure.
We've been talking about this idea on a personal level, like our own little quirks, but also on this massive cosmic scale.
From forgetting where we put our keys to the way stars burn energy, it's like inefficiency is everywhere.
And the crazy thing is that inefficiency might be what led to all the amazing complexity and diversity we see in the world.
It's a pretty incredible thought.
So now I'm wondering, where do we go from here? Like, how do we actually apply these ideas to our lives? How do we learn to embrace our own inefficiencies? Maybe even use them to our advantage?
Well, the excerpt's starting with a little self-compassion.
Self-compassion.
Yeah, we tend to be so tough on ourselves, always trying to be perfect, to do everything right.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that.
But what if, instead of beating ourselves up for every little mistake or moment of procrastination, we just gave ourselves a break?
I like the sound of that. Sometimes I get so caught up in trying to be productive, I forget to, actually enjoy the process.
Exactly. It's not about giving up on our goals.
Right.
It's about finding that balance between striving for excellence and accepting that we're not going to be perfect all the time.
So it's okay if my to-do list isn't perfectly organized, or if I get distracted by a funny video every now and then.
Exactly. Those little slip-ups, they're all part of the process.
It's like instead of seeing them as failures, we can see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
That's a great way to look at it. And remember, you don't have to go through this alone.
What do you mean?
Well, it's easy to feel like we're the only ones who struggle with procrastination or forgetfulness, but chances are everyone around us feels the same way sometimes.
We're all in this together.
We are. We're all part of this big, messy, wonderful, inefficient experiment called life.
I love that. Well, deep divers, as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of human inefficiency, I'm left with this feeling of, I don't know, hope. Like maybe it's okay to not be perfect.
It really is. Embrace those crooks, celebrate the stumbles, find the humor in those imperfections.
Because at the end of the day, those are the things that make you you.
That's what makes you unique and special.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and remember, it's okay to be perfectly imperfect.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.